Alright, so in this video I'll be checking out 3 unique Casio vintage watches from my collection, in particular some black vintage watches. I'm continually amazed when I go out there and search for watches. There are just so many different varieties and I find a new one each and every time. I thought you'd be interested in seeing what I have, and just to be clear, while there's no completely agreed upon use of the word vintage, I tend to think of it as anything at least 25 years old, maybe a bit more. So without further ado, let's hop in and check out these 3 black vintage Casio timepieces. Alright, so let's dive right in. First up is a simple yet classic watch from Casio's F series of watches, which began in 1978 and consists of well over 50 different models. This watch is the F12-1A, which was released in 1984 and can be considered the grandfather of the classic Casio F91W. So it really doesn't get much more simple than this watch. You've got a resin case with a small digital display. All you really need to know is right on the dial, there's hours, minutes, seconds, and there is a persistent date display button and an adjust button. It measures in at 34 millimeters wide, 39 millimeters lug to lug, and 9 millimeters in thickness. And it also has a snap-on case back and no water resistance. There's really not a whole lot of Casio watches out there that have the model number printed so boldly on the face, but there you go. This watch is just in pristine condition. It should probably reside in a museum. I honestly won't be wearing this one too often, as I really want to maintain its mint condition. But like I said, it is a resin case and it houses module number 500 with a snap-on case back and a 5-year lithium battery. In Casio's 1984 general catalog, subtitled A Superb Selection of Modern Timepieces, they list this model as a sports quartz watch with an auto calendar alongside the black and gold variant, which is the F12-1B. This watch really is a true classic and a predecessor to a countless number of Casio digital timepieces. So it's definitely a treasure, and I'm glad I have this one in my collection. And here is Casio's F12 on my 6.75 inch wrist. Definitely a diminutive watch, clocking in at 34 millimeters wide. But this is one of the most iconic and classic digital watches that you can find from Casio. Alright, and this next watch is from Casio's Janus series, which is the name they give to their digital analog hybrids. The word Janus comes from the ancient Roman god of doorways, or more apropos, the god of transitions, time, passages, and endings, having one head with 2 bearded faces back to back, hence the analog and digital telling of the time. This particular model, the AQ-30W, was released in 1984 and features an analog dial with lume on the indices and hands, and a small digital display with time, day date, alarm, hourly chime, stopwatch, and dual time. It came in 3 variants. There's black, orange, and white, as shown in this catalog from 1984. Also, there's an interesting ad from 1984 showing off 2 versions of their Janus watches as both high-tech and high-fashion. I find it interesting that the guy on the right is wearing the watch on the underside of his wrist, which I guess some people do, but the guy on the left is wearing it backwards, which is kind of odd. Anyway, I really like the unique look of this dial. I think it's pretty cool. In a way, it kind of reminds me of a diver's watch with the way the indices look. This watch is water resistant to 50 meters, and it has module 305. It's got a stainless steel case back, which is screwed down, and it is pretty small, honestly, at 32 millimeters wide. And here it is on my 6.75 inch wrist. I think it wears pretty nicely despite its small size, and it just has a nice classic look. The lume has kind of worn off, so it's not very bright when it's dark, But overall, I really like the hybrid combination of the digital and analog dials. And finally, the last watch in today's vintage series is the Casio DW-200 Marlin watch. Casio Marlin watches are highly sought after by collectors as they have a certain mix of style and functionality that continues to this day. Originally released in 1984, these watches were marketed under the water sports category. The main characteristics of Marlin watches is, of course, that little blue Sailfish logo on the dial. Apart from that, Marlin watches all have a few things in common. So they need to have at least 50 meters of water resistance, mineral glass, stainless steel pushers, a stopwatch, and at least one alarm. This model actually has 4 alarms. It's got 2 regular alarms and 1 alarm with pre-alarm chimes and 1 alarm with post-alarm chimes. These alarms would notify you either before or after an alarm has sounded, which is pretty interesting. We've also got dual time mode, we have a snooze alarm, there's an hourly chime, and of course there's a timer. This model also has a stainless steel case back with 4 screws, and it has 200 meters of water resistance and would serve as the basis for future DW-5500 models. And honestly, this could even be considered a precursor to the modern day G-Shocks, especially due to that square looking case. And the fact that these watches have held up for so many years is really a testament to their design and build quality. Also notice the unique sound of the button presses on this model. It's definitely a welcome sound after hearing the typical Casio beep for so many years. I left a link below in the description to a fantastic website that has a history of almost every single Marlin watch. It's in Spanish, but you can use Google Translate to read up on the fascinating history of these truly unique watches. And there you go, there's Casio's DW-200 Marlin watch. I absolutely love this watch. It fits really well. The square case is super cool, and I just love owning a piece of this history. So anyway, that is about it for this little taste of some of the black vintage watches in my collection. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely leave some comments down in the description if you have some specific models that you're interested in, or any unique or interesting watches. I'd love to hear. Please leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe to my channel. It definitely does help. Click that notification bell to be notified of any new videos. And again, thanks a ton for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Watching Casio.